back to a brand new exciting video. Today I've got a super exciting transition for you guys about this Benn TK door transition lock type thing. It's really cool and I'm really excited to show it to you guys. But real quick, earlier today my nephew was here and I got some super cute footage of him. So we're gonna play that and then we're gonna get into the tutorial. Alright everybody, so this probably isn't what you expected to see, but it turns out I deleted the footage with the clips of my baby nephew on it, which stinks. But I did get some photos of him, so here those are. Not as good as video, but still something. Anyways, guys, like I said earlier, today we're talking about this super cool Benn TK transition. I saw it in his cruise video, and I just had to break it down. It's such a cool effect. It's so unique. And there's a lot of different techniques and principles that I've never really taught or talked about on my channel all that much. And one more thing I just want to say, there are essentially 3 different sections in this video. The first is where I go over how to actually make this transition like full on with 3D models and textures and everything like that. But in that section, I use Video Copilot's Element 3D, and if you guys don't have that plugin or don't want to buy that plugin or anything like that, then skip to this time code on the screen and I'll show you guys how to do a very similar transition completely inside of After Effects. And then finally, at this time frame, I show you guys how to completely wrap up this transition and finish it up with some time remapping and motion blur. That being said, guys, I'm going to shut my mouth. We're going to jump on the computer and start talking about this effect. Alright everybody, so I'm on the computer now inside of Adobe After Effects and I've got this one just photo of my door right here. Later on, we're going to be adding this on to some actual footage of the door, but I began this effect by taking a raw photo of my actual door handle. That way we have as much quality and detail as we possibly can with this photo. Now real quick, I just want to let you guys know, as always, I've got this footage for you to download in the description down below. It's a Google Drive link. You guys can download this photo and you can download the video we're going to be using a little bit later on. That way if you guys don't have any footage, you can follow along and hopefully learn with this tutorial. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and scale this picture down to 64. This is a raw photo, so it's a little bit bigger than the timeline, and then I'm going to right click and hit pre-compose, move all attributes into new composition, and I'm going to name it base photo. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to draw a quick mask around this keyhole right here. Just like that. Now I'm going to hit MM on my keyboard. That brings up our mask controls, and I'm just going to check this box for inverted, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and create a new solid layer. I'll go up to new solid, and I'm going to name this mask. I'll hit OK. Then go down to our original mask layer, copy that mask, go up to the mask layer, and Control V it right onto that layer. Now hit MM again, and where it says add, you're just going to select that and choose none. That way the mask isn't actually doing anything, it's just an outline of the keyhole. What we're now going to do is select this mask layer, and I'm going to hit Control D on PC or Command D on Mac and just duplicate the mask. What I'm now going to do is just scale up this mask layer, something like that, and then I'm just going to sort of realign all of these mask points around the layer. So there we go, just something like that. That way we sort of have this outline, this border of these 2 different masks. Cool, now we can actually go ahead and turn off that mask layer. We're going to create a new solid layer, and we're going to name this E3D. We'll hit OK, and then I'm just going to add the Element 3D plugin. So once you have the Element 3D plugin added to the layer, you're going to go down to the Custom Layers option. You're going to go to Custom Text and Mask, and for Path Layer 1, you're going to choose the mask layer. Now when we go into Scene Setup, all we have to do is select extrude, and there you go. Now you can see we've got this nice mask of the key inside of Element for us to work with. What we're going to do is open up this down arrow, select bevel 1, which is the actual bevel right here. We're going to go down to the extrude functions, and we're going to change it from 1 to 20. Now you can see it's got some nice depth going on here. And now what we're going to do is select the extrusion model, hit Control D on Mac or Command D on PC. We're going to rename this border. And then we're just going to change the extrusion from 20 to 3. And then go down to the expand edges option and change that from 0 to 2. Alright, cool. So now what we need to do is we need to shift over the front of this keyhole back a little bit. So we're going to take the Z axis, and I'm just trying to line it up right here with this center line. And we just want to line it up flush with this line right here. Alright, cool. About right there seems perfect. And then we're going to take this border and we're just going to move it in a bit. Right about there. Cool, so now what we're going to do is head up to the create option, and we're just going to select this square right here. Alright, now we're going to go down to the dimensions right here, and we're going to change the first one to 0.13, the second to 0.50, and the third to 0.16. We're going to go down to the scale, and we're going to change it to 189%. Then we're going to change the Z orientation, which is the last value right here, to 8.5%. Now what we need to do is just sort of move this up and move it over and line it up with the top of the keyhole. Maybe a little bit farther down. Yeah, that's looking about right. And now we're actually gonna just move it over a bit as well. Awesome. I'm gonna rename this block 1. And now I'm just gonna duplicate this 3 times by hitting Control D on PC or Command D on Mac once again. 1, 2, 3. So now we've got 4 of these different blocks, and we can just go down and sort of line them up something like that. Nothing too scientific, just line them up as evenly as you can. Cool, so I'm gonna hit OK. We'll head back into our After Effects layer. And now what I'm gonna do is create a texture for our 3D model. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag back in this picture right here. I'm gonna scale it way up. I'm gonna pre-compose it, move all attributes into new composition, and I'm gonna name it texture. I can go ahead and turn off that layer. We'll go down to our element plugin layer, and in the custom layers function, go down to custom texture maps, and we're just gonna load that texture layer into layer 1. Cool, so now if we head back into scene setup, if we go down to this, say, bevel 1, we can choose the texture, and if we choose the diffuse function, we select none set, hit this down arrow, and then select custom layer 1 texture. There we go. Now you can see we've got our own custom texture map loading right in, and we can just go through loading it into all of the individual blocks. Alright, cool. So now I'm going to rename this group folder to be lock base, and I'm going to duplicate this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then over here, you can see these numbers right here, 1, and if you select it, there's 5 different options. This just designates which group the layer is in. So lock base will be in group 1, the second layer will be in group 2, the third layer will be in group 3, the fourth layer, group 4, the fifth layer, group 5. Now in lock base, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna turn off all of the different blocks and just leave on the border and the original extrusion right here. For the second layer, we're gonna turn off everything but block number 1. For the third layer, we're gonna turn off everything except for block number 2. The third layer, we're gonna turn off everything except for block number 3. And the fourth layer, we're gonna turn off everything except for block number 1. Alright, so cool. So now we can go ahead and select OK and head back into After Effects, and we're about done with everything inside of Element 3D. Now real quick, what we need to do is just realign this Element 3D keyhole with the original keyhole in the footage. So I'm just going to move this over a bit. Then what we can do is we can actually take this base photo layer. We still have the mask on that layer, so we can drag that up above the element layer, and there you go. Now you can see that gets rid of all the edges of the lock. And then if we hit MM on our keyboard, that brings up the options, and we can just make the mask expansion -2. And that's just going to help to cover up the edges a bit and make it look a little bit more natural. Cool, cool, cool. So we're flying through this. The next thing that we have to do is we're going to go ahead and enable 3D for the base photo layer. Then we're going to go up the layer, new, and we're going to add a new camera. Everything about this looks fine to me. You can mess around with the settings if you want. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now essentially all I'm going to do is just go here to point of interest position and keyframe a couple other things and just start keyframing the actual motion of going through the lock. Now to be honest with you guys, this part just kind of takes a while, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You just sort of keyframe the movements as needed. So to save some time in this video, in this tutorial, I went ahead and did the keyframes earlier, and I'm just going to paste them onto the layer now. So you guys can just take a look at all the keyframes I made right here, and then I'll show you guys the graph editor as well so you guys can get an idea of what I did. This makes it look a lot more complicated than it actually is. We'll take a look at the value graph. I just tried to ease everything up and make it look as smooth as possible. Alright, cool. So now really the last thing that we have to do is animate these key lock pick things moving up as the camera zooms through. So to do this, we're going to go back to our element layer. We're going to close world transform, and here's all of our different groups. So we have group 1, but that's the actual key lock thing right there. We want to head to group 2. Now we're going to go to this particle look, hit the down arrow, then go to multi-object and select enable multi-object. And that allows us to control this individually. So we're essentially sort of rigging this 3D model. Now if we go down to displace XYZ and we go down to Y, you can see we can move this individual pick right up. So let's say about right here is when we want the pick to start moving up. We're going to keyframe the Y displacement. We'll move forward 9 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we're just gonna move it up. Just like that. So there's our keyframes right there, and then we can right click, go to keyframe assistant, and select easy ease to make those easy ease keyframes. And now I'm gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing for the next 3 groups. Alright, cool, so I just finished doing those keyframes, so now if we play it through, check this out. Whoosh, I love it. We've got those ticks kind of coming through. One thing I want to do really quickly is I just want to darken this texture a little bit. And one really cool thing you can do is if we select this texture layer and we add a curves effect. Check this out. If we just darken this layer right here, if we go back to our main layer, you can see it's been darkened in real time. So you can always go back and individually control those and the brightness of it and everything like that. So now we're just gonna add some motion blur. So we'll go to layer, new, adjustment layer. We'll add the CC force motion blur layer. All right, cool. So now we've finished the hard part of this effect. Now it's time to just work on syncing this to the actual zoom footage. Alright everybody, so now what I'm going to do is show you sort of an alternative to do this effect just inside of After Effects with only the tools that come packaged with AE, no plugins required. So the first thing you need to do is just draw a quick mask around the keyhole. Just draw it on your base photo of the lock and then just invert it and you should be good to go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to layer, new, shape layer, and we're just going to draw a quick path around the keyhole once again. We'll make the stroke just 2. Now what we're going to do is enable 3D for both of those layers, and we're going to go up to layer, new, and add a camera. Go ahead and hit OK. And now what we can do is select our shape layer, and it's really important to make sure you go up to the right corner and see what your render is. If it's still in classic 3D, make sure you switch it over to Cinema 4D. Hit OK, and what that's going to do is add the geometry options to our shape layer. If we open that up and we go down to extrusion depth, we can extrude that shape that we just drew. So let's extrude it by 100. And now if we take our camera and twist around to the back, you can see that that shape we just drew now has depth to it. There's actually depth. It's actually a 3D object. I'm going to go ahead and change the extrusion depth to about 400. But there you go. There you have it. So now we've got this nice 3D layer. So you can mess around with the color of it if you want. You could add another shape layer. You could make a little square like that. And then you can make this a 3D layer, geometry options, and you could give this some extrusion depth. And then you can make some of those picks interlocking as well. So you can really do a lot with that, mess around with it if you guys don't have the Element 3D plugin. The only downfall of this so far is that I have yet to find a way to actually add textures to these shape layers. I'm pretty sure there isn't a way to actually texture the sides of this. So I would recommend using the color black. Maybe there is a way. I did some research. I couldn't find a way to add textures, but maybe there is a way. So look around on your own and see if you can find a way to do that. If so, that's awesome. But if not, I think this is a great alternative to any kind of plugins that are out there. Alright everybody, so at this point you've either made the version using Element 3D or you made the version using the Cinema 4D shape lines method. Either way, you've got that picture with the actual animation, and now it's just time to link it back to the main master clip. So I've got this one clip right here of me slowly moving in on the door with the gimbal, and I'm going to go ahead and take my animation, which is right here, and I'm going to find the closest frame to the picture that I used for the animation. So let's see. A little bit farther in, probably about right here is as close as we're gonna get. Let's take a look, and then I'll adjust the position to line up more with the picture. So all we're doing is just essentially creating a match cut just like that. So once you have a match cut that you're happy with, select the 2 clips, right click, pre-compose, and then you're gonna right click, go to time, enable time remapping. And we're just going to do some quick time remapping on this clip. Alright, cool. So I just added 3 different keyframes. I converted them to easy ease. I did a bit of graph editing, as you guys can see right there, just to smooth it out. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add an adjustment layer, new, adjustment layer, and we're going to add that CC force motion blur. So that's pretty much it, guys. We've got the time remapping. It's looking pretty smooth if you ask me. The only thing that we have to do now is just add in the clip that we want to actually transition to. So we'll go back to our base animation, and I'm just going to take a random clip. I filmed this for the beginning of one of my videos, and I'm just going to drag it all the way underneath to the bottom. I'll add a Gaussian blur, and I'm going to keep this blurred to about 300, and then right about here we'll drop it down to 0. And then as you guys can see, it looks pretty smooth. Now I will mention it works better if you have a clip that's also moving. So if you watch Benn TK's, the clip that he's using is also moving forward on a gimbal or something like that. That's what I did at the beginning of this video as well. So it doesn't work quite as well for static shots, but it still works. And that's about it, guys. There we have it. That's the entire transition. And there you guys have it. That is it. That is the transition. That is the tutorial. All right, this was a big tutorial. There was a lot of information packed into this, but I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something new. Let me know what other tutorials you guys want to see in the future. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at AndrewJMES. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to get outside, film a video, make a difference, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.